On this episode of the Turnbuckle, Will Ospreay reflects on his injury issues. We get an update on CM Punk's AEW return, and Chris Jericho hopes AEW can work on having more than 3 hours of TV every week. Folks, we're in your favorite wrestling movies and wrestling news because it's time for the Turnbuckle. In a social media video on Monday, Will Ospreay reflected on the injury issues that he's been dealing with. Ospreay was forced to withdraw from the New Japan Cup this March due to suffering a shoulder injury. He hasn't wrestled since then, but Ospreay will be returning to the ring in a match against Bobby Fish for 1PW this Saturday. Ospreay confirmed in Monday's video that he's been medically cleared to compete and does feel a lot better, but he still feels like there's a lot of weakness in his arm. Ospreay said the sensible answer would be to take some more time off, but he's going to compete and do as much as he physically can. Looking back on the 11 years of his career thus far, Ospreay said injuries have been a constant recently. It's felt like his body is deteriorating in front of everyone's eyes. Ospreay has had to make changes to his moveset because his body can't do some of the things that he did when he was 22. Ospreay said he understands the risks that come with his style, but it's a style that suits him and one that the fans enjoy. A match between Ospreay and Hiroshi Tanahashi has been announced for NJPW's Resurgence event in Long Beach, California on Sunday, May 21st. Tanahashi's status for that match is in question after suffering a broken rib at NJPW Capital Collision. The winner of Ospreay vs. Tanahashi is scheduled to face Lance Archer at NJPW Dominion to determine the #1 contender to Kenny Omega's IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. There's a lot of athletes out there who put their body on the line, right, for the good of the company. Not so much the company, but the program. That's what I was trying to find. The good of the program. And a lot of people could argue that maybe that's not the best thing for them, right? You got guys like Kurt Angle, who I talk about Kurt Angle. I don't talk about him all the time, but he's the first person I think of when I think of like the results of like him and Mick Foley. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's guys out there that are still to this day, like they're getting like surgery, right? They're getting like metal plates, they're getting screws, they're still in pain, right? They constantly have to go to like a chiropractor, a masseuse, you know what I mean? Like, their body is still feeling the effects of the things that they did when they were younger, you know what I mean? And you got guys like Will Ospreay, who, I mean, aren't the youngest, but like, you know, like even now, the toll of like all the moves and the matches and all that sort of stuff are now starting to catch up with him and everything like that, you know. And you know, it's good that Will Ospreay, you know, realizes that, and he's doing things now, right, to benefit himself in the future so that he doesn't have to, you know, with the metal plates and the screws and the masseusing and all that sort of stuff, you know. Not to say that like there's something wrong with that, you know what I mean, that like Kurt Angle shouldn't be doing that, or Mick Foley is like an idiot, you know, for you know, getting just you know, having his body, you know, get to that point. But like, you know, it's something that we need to assess, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really think, as far, I mean, at this point in my life, I really don't think that I want to see, and I think I speak for a very, very large chunk of people, not just wrestling fans, but people in general. We don't really want to see you do that anymore, you know. I mean, maybe for a time when we were younger and we didn't really understand, you know, it was cool, but now it's like, you don't really have to be doing that, you know. I think that we're past that point, and I'm glad to know that, and hopefully in the near future, you know, there's a lot of wrestlers like Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy and like a bunch of other wrestlers, maybe even who haven't even started doing it, you know. That's like the low-key hope, is that there's wrestlers out there who were like, I want to be like Jeff Hardy, and I want to be like Darby Allin and that sort of stuff. And then they look at it and they go, actually, you know what? It doesn't seem safe, you know. It doesn't really seem like the best idea. Maybe I'm not going to do that, you know. Hopefully that's something that a lot of wrestlers are beginning to adopt, you know, in the near future for the betterment of their careers. Next, we're going to be talking about an update on CM Punk's AEW return, the Saturday show, the brand split, and working with Jericho. There are several updates available regarding CM Punk's potential return to AEW. On Sunday's edition of Wrestling Observer Live, Andrew Zarian provided an update on the situation, noting that Warner Bros. Discovery has been informed that Punk will be returning. I know for a fact that Warner has been told he's coming back. They are very much aware of the situation. He had recently said he is willing to return to AEW and he wants to make it work. So, the issue here is that he's willing to work with the Elite members. I know as of the time I was told, and as early of this week, there was no intention on the other side. Maybe Kenny a little bit more than the Bucks, but I know they do not want to work with him. There's been no dialogue between the two sides either regarding sitting down and making this work. Regarding the potential Saturday AEW show, Zarian said the quote soft brand split of the roster would be not as soft as he first mentioned on the Mat Men podcast. The plans have been put in place to possibly have a tentative Saturday show to be the soft brand split, he said. When I used that term yesterday on Mat Men, I was told that it's less soft than I'm putting out there. I guess there will be people that are predominantly on the other side on the Saturday show. Zarian continued saying, I've heard this from multiple people, and the way it was alluded to me is that the program will probably be Punk and Jericho in some capacity. I don't know if FTR is involved or Jericho's society involved, but you know what? That's a very smart way to do this. Jericho has presented himself as a locker room leader. Jericho came out and said he's toxic or whatever he said, and he's willing to make this work because he realizes that there's money in this. That's right, my dog walked in. Where was I? So, I don't necessarily know how this is gonna go, right? I think in the beginning, I need to stop doing that. I'm not gonna stop doing that. That's funny. I think that in the beginning, this is going to be a very rocky situation, and there's definitely going to be a line drawn in the sand, right? You're going to have a lot of people that are going to like step to one side, and a lot of other people are going to step to the other side. And I think that over time, especially with the way that the storyline goes, hopefully if the storyline goes, I don't even know, to be totally honest with you. So from what, okay, hold on, because I need to make sure I know what the hell I'm talking about here. Hold on. It's very smart. Jericho's presenting. Jericho. Okay. Program will probably be Punk and Jericho in some capacity. Jericho is just gonna. He's just gonna be mean. Like, Jericho's just going to be like, oh, I don't like you, and you're a big fart, and you're a big dummy head, and hey, everybody, hey, insert hometown here, don't you guys hate CM Punk? And then he's just going to, like, he's going to be like, and the crowd's going to be like, I don't know, I don't really know how to feel, ask me in a week. It's just going to be a lot of, like, that for, like, the first, 2 weeks. It's going to be pandering. It's going to be a lot of pandering. It's going to be a lot of, hey, everybody, CM Punk's a big, dumb fart, stupid head, ugly monster, big butt face, dumb. And the crowd's gonna be like, yeah, he sure is a big dumb fart, ugly monster, stupid dumb ugly, right? My little baby. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just gonna feel like weird, if you're still gonna be screaming, oh, he shouldn't be here. I don't want to be here. I hate him. I was like, all right. I mean, scream and cry and fart all you want. Like, he's there, so like it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, I personally, and Coco, she also wants to see how the storyline plays out because, I mean, at this point, there's not really much else anybody can do, and he's coming back, so let's just see how it plays out. Finally, we're going to be talking about Chris Jericho and how he hopes AEW can work on having more than 3 hours of TV every week. As per several reports, AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery are currently working on a new 2-hour show slated to begin in June. According to Dave Meltzer, the show will likely coincide with the return of CM Punk, who is poised to be a focal figure of the reported Saturday night show on TNT. There has also been chatter of an AEW roster split to ensure that a lot of wrestlers currently underutilized on Dynamite and Rampage receive more airtime via AEW's new television show. This specific idea has caught the attention of Chris Jericho, who strongly believes that AEW could benefit from an additional hour or two of programming every week. There's always ups and downs in any company, but I'd say 99% of our locker doesn't want to go anywhere else, Jericho told Battleground Podcast. If there is one bad thing, it's that we have only 3 hours of TV a week, despite having such a huge and talented roster. So that is something I hope we can work on. There's nothing wrong with having a talented roster. We just need to get more reps for some people, Jericho continued. I feel we're already doing that with House Rules, which is AEW's live events, and some upcoming news with the opportunity we have to try and put a spotlight on more people. But that's the way it goes. When I started in the early mid-1990s, there were so many weeks when I wasn't on TV. Both WCW and WWE were like that. It's just the way the business goes sometimes. Obviously, when you become a top star, you get to be on TV. That's what everyone is striving to achieve. The people who are destined to do that will do that. You're devoting all this time, right, to a third show, when I feel like you could easily be devoting this time to refining Rampage and putting an extra slot on that, and it just feels like, you're putting all this time and effort into a completely different show. And again, the show itself isn't really a show. It's just like an island for other people to go on to because they don't like somebody. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why they're doing that. You know what I mean? the more I talk about it, the more I don't think that that's true. I can't subscribe to the fact that you are making a completely different show all because somebody, sips their coffee too loud, or all because somebody wears their socks outside of their shoes. I don't know, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that a completely different, now, see, and again, it just doesn't make any sense, but that's what it sounds like, and that's what I'm hearing. That's what's like floating around, this quote-unquote soft brand split, and Zarian's like, oh, the brand split's not as soft as I had initially thought it was. I'm hoping that he's talking about like in the opposite direction, where it's like it's not a brand split at all, which again, it's just like, okay, so it's a Rampage, I guess. I don't know, but it sounds like he's going in the forward direction, not backwards. Sounds like he's going forward in the sense that this is 100% a brand split, and the brand split is purely based off of the fact that somebody said that they liked Cinnamon Toast Crunch instead of Captain Crunch, and it's just like, really? Really? Is that what we're doing? Is that how much money Tony Khan has nowadays, that he's just like, oh, you don't like that? All right, well, here's a completely different show specifically for that, because my man said that BoJack Horseman wasn't a good TV show, but he likes Parks and Rec. It's just dumb, and I can, again, I can yada fada, bada fada, but if the show does end up pulling in numbers and it does a lot better than Rampage, or it does numbers and it does well, then there's not really much that we're going to be able to say about it. It's not much we can do. What do we talk about? Will Ospreay reflects on his injuries. Again, there's a lot of wrestlers out there like Ospreay, like Omega, like Darby, like Joel, not wrestlers, but athletes, Joel and LeBron, right? I know my brother's ears are ringing right now, but there's a lot of athletes out there who, for a time were able to do a lot of like physically taxing things on their body, and now it's catching up, and I think we've reached a point where I don't think that we really need to see that type of stuff anymore, and I think we need to be thinking more about the long-term effects of their careers and everything, and I personally don't want to see that, and I don't think that it needs to happen, as my dog is adjusting herself. CM Punk's AEW return on the Saturday show, the brand split and work with Jericho. What is it? Nothing? All right. I hope that this is good. I hope that this is bad before it gets good. Like, I want all the bad, toxic, yada, yada, shoot from the hip, you know what I'm saying, from the hip type stuff. I want that stuff to happen, and then we're done. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Now we can focus on the storyline at hand. I want that to happen. I don't want a whole lot of, mudslinging and stuff like that, because I just don't think that it's necessary. Jericho hopes that AEW can work on having more than 3 hours of TV. Sure. Again, I don't think that adding a whole 2-hour show all because somebody decided that, I don't know, they liked Doritos instead of Lay's or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a good idea. Somebody was like, oh, I like Sinosa Chroma over Logitech or something like that. Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, if it's doing numbers, then there's not really much that like anybody can really say. And listen, I think that, at the end of the day, positively speaking, this is going to do a lot for a lot of different wrestlers. And I don't know, maybe a lot of wrestlers on Dark and Dark Elevation can start migrating to that brand. You know what I mean? I don't know. I personally don't know. Again, I don't make the time slots and all that sort of stuff, so there's not really much I can say. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.